everybody, welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and I have changed my look. Today is day one of being a bandana guy. Uh, no, but seriously, like my hair is out of control, and it was like tickling in my nose, and that was just really uncomfortable, and it sucks. So I've decided bandana is the way to go. I feel kind of like Keith Richards minus the hard drugs. Still just, sticking with weed and psychedelics. But that's neither here nor there. I am on vacation at what I call ground zero. It's my parents' house. I only call it ground zero because it's the origin story of how I got to be how I am. You're looking at a best case scenario of I was raised by hoarders, so I'm having a blast out here and sufficiently stoned for much of it. So I'm in the Pacific Northwest for a couple months, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. And what a great time to just now be on vacation in the Pacific Northwest when our guest today is from Portland, Oregon. She's a relatively new Giz head, not the newest that we've had on the podcast, but like maybe second newest. But she was super cool. We had a really fun conversation that was briefly interrupted with some Wi-Fi issues, but that was, luckily only a one-time deal. Really, really fun conversation. Super cool lady. And what else did I want to talk about? Today it's the day that this podcast is coming out is July 7th. And, we've just gone through a weekend of 4th of July that a lot of us didn't really feel like celebrating. And I get that because I didn't do jack shit. I just cuddled with my dog because she was terrified of the fireworks. And I was fine with it. I think I'm kind of over fireworks. It's fireworks I think are really overrated. And there's a baseball player who he went on this amazing tirade, like a really like very what do you call it, like monotone tirade, like if you can call it that, just sort of just kind of droned on and on and on like I'm doing right now about how much he dislikes fireworks and just doesn't get why anybody, why it sparks joy in anyone. And that player is Zach Greinke. And when I used to work at MLB.com, there was a video that we had just in some of the files. We had a whole folder of videos that we thought were hilarious, so we just save them out as since I was a production assistant, so we would just save those out into like a blooper reel type folder, and just to amuse ourselves while we had some downtime. And the Zach Greinke fireworks rant was just hysterical because of how he's just such a deadpan. I don't think it's even intentional deadpan. I just think he has that little of a personality that hearing him talk about how much he dislikes anything is probably amazing. And in this case, it definitely was. He was talking about fireworks. And yeah, so I was very much channeling my inner Zach Greinke on the 4th of July. Just since, I've just been getting reacquainted with my parents' dog, who I only first met last December when they came down to Joshua Tree to visit. So she stayed with me for a week, and that was nice. But it took her like 10 minutes or so to warm up to me when into my vacation here. So she forgot what I looked like, and that's okay because now we're right back to where we were 7 months ago. Yeah. Anyway, I'm stoned. This episode was really fun, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Check it out. Here's Marissa.
Sweet.
Cool. So, yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's so cool that you're doing this.
Yeah, it's been such a weird experience because, like, I was just stoned one day and just I was like, maybe I should start another podcast. Like, what if I, or I was, because first I was thinking, maybe I should get just a few people who are gonna go to Red Rocks onto my other like personal podcast, which nobody listens to,
Right.
and then like it was like after I finished recording the first episode, I was like, whoa, this was just really fucking fun. What if I just made this a total spin-off podcast, just a totally separate thing?
Oh.
And yeah, so that's just what this has become. And it's been just super fun to talk with like all these different fans from all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been listening in to the ones that you've released in the past, and they're so good. And I love that everybody has their own like Giz experience. It's so cool.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, yeah, the feedback has been great. And it's weird because like nobody's ever told me that I'm good at podcasting or anything, but like
Yeah.
like the more I'm doing this, the more I feel like this is something I really want to do.
Heck yeah. No, you're good at it. You're getting, I think you said in your the last one that I heard, that you're a comedian too. So I feel like
Yeah.
that just kind of flows well
Yeah.
for a podcaster.
Yeah, definitely. Like podcast. So that's why I started podcasting with my personal podcast that I don't care whether people listen to it. It's just that I needed an outlet to just get all the surface gunk off my brain.
Yeah.
And just put it out there. And then sometimes it like once pretty much I find that like when I've got all that extra bullshit just cast aside, like it's a lot easier to talk and just speak lucidly. So yeah, which obviously helps as a comic. And now that I can't do shows or anything, like it's this is great.
Yes.
So where are you based?
So I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess since you listen, you probably figured that I'm also from the Northwest.
Oh, we're done.
Yeah, I grew up near Seattle.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I also you're from New York. I'm also from the East Coast.
Oh, get out. So we're both bi-coastal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was born in PA, and then I was living in New York for a while. Not the city, but in Rochester.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pretty upstate. But yeah, so
cold up there.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So what brought you out to Oregon?
I just needed a change after I graduated college. I was ready for a more laid back, if you will, kind of lifestyle. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. And it's been so amazing so far. The people are so great. The music's so great. The art's so great. The community is wonderful. It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah, from what I hear, Portland has like a really good. I mean, like I know it's always got a great art scene, but especially in comedy, that's really been coming to the forefront in the last like 10 years or so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know too much about comedy stuff. But.
it's okay. It's just like one of my like main passions, but like so I'm like passionate about a few select things. So it's like, yeah, music. Comedy, giz, baseball. So it's, yeah. No, that's interesting. So what's your giz story?
So I have a kind of interesting one. People have been telling me to listen to giz for so long because I've always been really into psych rock. And I looked at their Spotify, and I think their top ones are like maybe like Hot Wax, Sense, and like Work This Time. I think those are like your 3 top ones, and I just wasn't getting into them at first. So I kind of always, put them to the side. And then when I moved here, I got really into doom metal and like Slift and more like heavy psych. Like
Slift is fucking great.
Slift is so good. So I was getting into that, and then Infest the Rat's Nest came out right when I was kind of in that more heavier doomy state, and it just blew my mind. I was like, there's no way that these are the same fucking people that are writing Work This Time. But And then I fell in love with that record, and it was funny because I had downloaded it to my phone, and my phone didn't download Hell. So
Oh.
for like 2 weeks, I was listening to the album without Hell, and then I realized it. I know. And then I realized it, and I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, it was just so amazing. And then I ended up looking at like they have an essential playlist that they made of what they think is like essential for listeners
Yeah.
to hear from them, and it was so much better. Like it started off with like Crumbling Castle and like Tezita and like a bunch of other songs that were super dope, and I then started listening to that, and then just kind of from there just started to delve into their single albums and listen to them through and through. And then Chucky came out, and it was amazing.
So this is like a really recent series of events.
Yeah, it's super recent. Yeah, I'm a baby Giz head, and yeah, it's really great, especially during quarantine, to like really have that time to listen to all of their stuff.
Yeah.
I'm working right now at a Trader Joe's, and it's not like the most fun place to work right now. So like I'll go, put on Infest the Rat's Nest, or like Murder the Universe, or Flying Microtona Banana has been my like album of like dystopian familiarity going into this.
Yeah.
So I'll go to work and I'll do that, and then I'll come home and like smoke a J and listen to Paper Mache and like have a good time and like relax. So it's really nice to have all of their discography to, I don't know, listen to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially, since like I'm 2.5 years into my Gizhead fandom or phase, whatever you call it. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's like I'm still processing or still like I'm able to pick out like new things that I hear on every album.
Oh
Um
yeah.
and it's cool to sort of put myself in your shoes, because like I remember exactly what that was like for me, like the first few months of really getting into Giz. Like I don't even think I got into I'm in Your Mind Fuzz until like maybe 6 months in.
Yeah,
um,
that was the latest one that I got into, and I still have to get into their like 12 bar brews. And is it Eyes in the Sky? Is it
Eyes Like the Sky.
Eyes Like the Sky? Yeah, I
Yeah.
still need to listen to that through too, but it's just exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And something else you mentioned just before, yeah, about Hell, and how like you went 2 weeks without it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it reminded me like, so I when I saw them last year in LA, um, like that was a few days before Infest the Rat's Nest came out.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended that set with Hell, and they said, one more song here, and then then they started playing the second part of Hell, and I was like, oh my god, are we getting an encore? Like, it was just,
It's so good. I know. I love when they come in with that last bit at the end. It's absolutely amazing because you think it's over, and then they come in with that, and you're like, no, it's better than before. Like,
yeah,
what? It's so
yeah,
good.
that was fantastic. So did you manage to catch them when they came to Portland last year?
No, I've never seen them. And
Oh
I
man.
listened to everybody else that came on here, and they were like, oh, I met them, and I met them. And I was like, oh shit, like I haven't even seen them yet. These people are going to think I suck, but like I just got into them. So,
Yeah, well, it's been funny from just who I've been talking with. Like, I think I've seen them more than any of my guests, and I don't even feel like I've seen them that many times. Like,
yeah, I
like
saw,
I've seen them 5 times.
yeah,
Um,
I saw somebody on like the Reddit that was talking about how they had like planned out this like to follow them on, I think maybe their last tour, or maybe this one that got canceled, I don't know, but that's so awesome that people are like following, King Giz, who's just this like super awesome, weird, nerdy sci-fi psych rock band. Like that's so cool.
yeah, and it's weird because like I'm in it purely from the music standpoint, or like that's what got me into it. And because like I've never really been a huge fan of fantasy or sci-fi or anything. Like I appreciate it, but I've never gotten into it. Um, and yeah, now that like I do find myself reading into their lyrics and like this overall Gizverse theme, like a whole story around that everything's tied into. Like that's just fascinating for me, just from a perspective of thought. Like I didn't really. It didn't remind me of any like my favorite fantasy books or anything because I don't have any. But the music was just amazing. Oh fuck! Did I lose you? Looks like you're frozen. We got your back.
Hi.
Cool. Yeah. So I don't know exactly where it cut out, but I think I was just talking about how. What was the last that you remember?
I think
A little bit of Zoom amnesia, but
we were talking about shows, maybe.
Yeah. So I saw them in LA. They played Hell, and that was a trip because I didn't realize it was the same song at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, no, and I feel like we're past that point. Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think I was talking about the just how they were like a sci-fi fantasy band, even though I've never
Oh,
been
yeah.
into that stuff. Like
Uh-huh.
it's just fun to think about from the perspective of just like thinking,
Mm-hmm.
just because, yeah, it's like, wait, what is the connection here? Like, if it's not super obvious on the surface.
Yeah, it's so cool. Did you ever see that there's some guy on YouTube that like makes these long explanations of how like all of the albums connect with the previous ones?
Yeah,
Have you watched those?
I know of them. I haven't actually
Or like
watched them myself because I
I
think in
watched
a way like it bruises my ego a little bit, like because I'm like, oh, I could have
Yeah,
done that.
I watched like two of them recently. And they're so like this dude just goes in on like all of these little like theories he has, and it's so cool that they're a band that can attract so many different kinds of listeners and people to like love their story or a specific kind of album that they're doing or whatever.
Hmm.
Like I feel like a lot of bands aren't doing the whole spectrum of like business with Flightless and like artwork with like Jason's stuff and videos and killer songs and like tours. Like
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. Like, what is their day-to-day life like? Like, can they even have a life outside of being King Gizzard? And like, I guess the answer is yes, because they can also be
mm-hmm.
Pipe Eye and the Murlocs and Bullant. But,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's like, but like, I have to imagine they're pretty much thinking about this one thing, and like, they sort of have to put themselves in a bubble in order to focus that much on it. Um,
Yeah, and I think they have a lot of you know people that I don't know, they come from different genre backgrounds, it seems, so they have the ability to like bring in so many different genres and have
Fuck, we
um
froze again. There. Okay, there you're
oh
back.
um I don't know if I'm wrong. I mean, obviously everybody else writes songs, but I feel like Stu writes a lot of the material that they have.
For sure. I mean, I don't think there's any question that Stu's like the main brains behind it,
Mm-hmm.
but like I think what makes Stu such a great leader is that he gives everybody else basically equal footing
Yeah.
to contribute. He's like, sure, this is my perception, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like he's basically like, all right, so this is my thing, but anybody else got anything to contribute that could accentuate something um or just just something that sounds cool. Like, yeah, it's welcome.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I wish more people had bosses like that. Like,
Yeah, totally.
yeah, it's like nice and collaborative.
Uh-huh. And just, I feel like they have um a lot of freedom, and also that like familiarity, like using themes, like using the same themes in their albums, and like even, album to album you'll hear a different theme from another song, or a melody, and it's like, just, I don't know, I think they're really smart in what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, because there are definitely a bunch of themes that go from song to song to album. For example, Hot Water being on I'm in Your Mind Fuzz, and then that pops up again in Robot Stop on
Mm-hmm.
Nonagon, and then also there's like a little bit of like the same sort of, I like, it's not the exact same riff as Hot Water, but it's close enough in Cold Cadaver on Paper
Mm-hmm.
Mache.
Yeah, I could
Like,
see that. Yeah.
yeah, like I was just like, oh, cool. So they're like using this as like a refrain, in their throughout all their songs, and like that's just super cool to me. And then People
Mm-hmm.
Vultures going into I think, what was it, the Balrog or something? Or wait, no, it was People. Yeah, I think it was People Vultures like going into the second story of in Murder of the Universe.
Yeah, I think it's
Uh,
yeah, I think it's Lord. Is it Lord of Light? I don't know. It's
yeah,
one.
it's yeah, I think it might be like just it might be like the track just before Lord of Lightning,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like setting the
Right at the
stage,
end.
setting the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an establishing riff. um
Uh-huh. It's so great, because when I'm listening, I'll hear that and I'm like, yes, like that's from the other album. Like it's just,
yeah,
it feels good. And I think in a world that is like, run off of simple pop songs, which I think is fine. Like I'm not a mainstream music hater by any means. But I feel like our brains like to hear that specific kind of thing over and over to latch on to it. And I think it's just great that they do that, because it really entices me as a listener to make the connections.
yeah, that's interesting. It's like, yeah, it's interactive listening, like
Mm-hmm.
that's whereas, a lot of other songs, like even if you're listening intently, it's like you're listening for little musical things, but and things that, I guess, or things you're looking for. But
Mm-hmm.
with Giz, it's like you're looking for a deeper meaning that is just to make sense out of all of their music.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. Which I feel like people never do. Which I also love, because they have like the multiverse thing. That's, anything's possible. That's so great, and it's also
Yeah.
so psychedelic of them and
Oh,
sci-fi of
it
them.
it really is. And like yeah, when when Dave mentioned that on that podcast episode, I was just like, oh, thank God, because like I felt like such an idiot with like my like once I realized like how my uh interpretation of Inner Cell was just totally inaccurate. He was just like, it's possible it might not be inaccurate, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like when we're getting down to the quantum mechanics of everything, it's like, okay, that brings me a solace. But
Uh-huh. Yeah, totally. Speaking of Inner Cell, I don't know if anybody on the podcast has brought up the chunky version of that little suite there,
yeah,
but whew,
I
so good.
I watched that last night because I was just like, I miss seeing that. Like I screen capped it just when I watched it on my phone.
Uh-huh.
Because like actually I used the chunky video to actually teach myself the song,
Oh, nice.
because like they showed like the exact fingerings that Stu
Mm,
and Joey were doing, and I was like, okay, yeah, so this makes sense, and it just got me more into the groove of it, so it was easier for me to play. um,
yeah.
but yeah, like that, I mean, so they played that suite for the first time in LA when I saw them, and it just blew my mind. Like I didn't give a fuck that we weren't getting Crumbling Castle and the Fourth
Yeah.
Color,
Uh-huh.
because like they've never played like the both the horology suite and Crumbling Castle, Fourth Color in the same set.
Oh, they just like don't do it really.
Yeah, they do either or.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I was, but like, yeah, once they played that, I was like, oh, we're seeing something brand new. Because like Joey even introduced it. He was like, we've never played these songs before
Oh, wow.
on this side of the world. So
Mm,
it was a really cool moment.
yeah, that's so rad. He's so talented, and it's funny because like I mean not with him specifically, but I actually listened to the Murlocs like before Giz, and
Oh, really?
yeah, I listened to them. I've been into them for like 2 years, and I didn't ever um do my research on like their like the members of their band or anything.
Yeah.
And then when I actually like saw I think it was uh the KEXP video where they do it live in front of the audience.
Oh,
I think it's
cool.
the Murder the Universe one,
Yeah,
I
yeah. That
think.
that that's the only live audience one they have at KEXP. But yeah, that
Um,
set was just incredible.
I know, but I saw Ambrose, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I was like, I feel like I've seen that guy before, and then I was like, "Oh, he's." And then I saw, I love that they also rep like all of the artists that they work with, like their band tees and stuff, like on
Yeah.
their shows. I thought so good. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, because that's such a cool thing just from a business standpoint, but like also
mm-hmm.
communal. And like I've never really been one, or like I guess when I was in high school, I loved merch, and then after like I moved back home after college, I was like, oh wait, no, I come from a family of hoarders. Fuck.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
that's
realized like
you're like
I
get
gotta
rid of
just,
everything.
yeah, just hard stop. I'm not buying any merch. And then
Yeah.
Giz comes along, and they inspire me with like, I think Lucas is wearing an Orb tee in
Mm-hmm.
one of the KXP sessions, and or maybe even a couple of them. And
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, all right, I'll I'll start buying T-shirts of bands that I
Yeah, the
like
bands
especially if
you
I go
really
to a
like.
show and I want to support. I mean, so like shit, I'm wearing Kigaku Moyo right now, like,
Hell yes.
which that's the
That's so
exact reason why I
great.
bought it. It was like
Uh-huh.
it's like I want to
Yeah.
support these people who are
Hmm.
like bringing me you know, the best music.
Yeah,
Um,
especially just like I went to school for like music and business, and I've been around the music business a lot, so I know my friends doing a lot of like DIY projects too, so I know how, merch really
mhm.
helps artists on their tours
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff, because they're not making, especially with Spotify and all the digital stuff now, they're not making a lot. So, buying a t-shirt will like give them a meal. I mean, not in Kinga's case, obviously, but for
yeah.
some smaller bands, like it's
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, like basically anybody, like comics. That's pretty much how they make most of their money
Mm-hmm.
is through merch sales.
Oh.
And like I don't know that firsthand yet because I'm like very new to it still. Like I haven't
Mm-hmm.
done tours or anything, but from what I understand, like once you start doing that, then like T-shirts, any little thing like a CD, just anything becomes imperative to actually making money and keeping fans. Um,
Yeah. And
but
then when you're as like big as King is, it like becomes a cool collector art form. Like I feel like I
yeah,
went online to like I was gonna see they had this really dope poster from, I think when they were in Berlin, and it's like this big lizard and you can see like inside his body. And I saw that poster, I was like, oh, maybe like somebody's selling that on eBay. I was thinking in my head like maybe I could get it for like $40 at the most.
that's what it costs
These
at the
people
show.
selling it for like $600. I was like, what?
Yeah,
It's insane.
the markup is insane, and like it sucks that there isn't a good way to get around that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cool that they have the posters and that they are limited, that they because that's what gives them some sort of value.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like they're already. I've never bought a poster at a show because they're $40, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's I'm frugal.
Yeah.
So and plus like I've got shit on my walls that is mostly stuff that either I've done or it's been given to me. So I don't need to like go buy shit. But
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, like I just love that they have each of those posters because it's like it gives people the opportunity to have something totally unique from that show that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like you're not going to get if you don't, unless you get there really early and wait like an hour or two in line. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
um,
it's crazy. And it's also totally just I think somebody else touched on, I think maybe a couple people, their like resemblance to the Grateful Dead and the like, you know, in their like jam ways, but also in the ways that they do their merch and their videos. Like the Grateful Dead had such a great they kind of started, you know, the merch becoming popular for people to like buy all the time,
yeah.
and then, you know, they're doing exactly that, which I think
Well,
is dope.
and you know what's crazy about the not King Gizzard, about the Grateful Dead merch is that it was fans that made the merch in the first place.
Mm.
So they would just sell it, like they would just create their new, you know, designs and then sell it to each other outside the shows. And like
Uh-huh.
they had the first ever band tees. Um,
Mm.
and give me 1 second. I'm just going to get the thing that taught me that. Uh,
Okay.
this is a book that I've alluded to before, but it's called "Everything I Know
Oh,
About Business
sick.
I Learned from the Grateful Dead," which yeah, my best friend bought it for me.
Heck yeah.
Since yeah, we had been tripping on acid in Hollywood, and he lives in New York, so we were just, you know, he'd never been to the West Coast before. He'd never taken acid before. We were just having a great time, and and then at one point we found ourselves like, well, after our trip, we found ourselves back in the hotel, um, and I was just like, dude, I think I want to start a business selling socks. Cause like, I fucking love socks.
Yeah.
Like,
What's not to love? They're cool.
yeah, exactly. Like it's, you know, like the reason I got into socks was, like I used to work like just a soul crushing, corporate job in New York.
Uh-huh.
And, and like, I just got to such a point with my, just depression and just stagnation that I was like, I need fucking something to give me like a nice little boost, you know?
Yeah.
So I figured like, since just putting on my socks was something I would have to do every day, why not make them fucking cool? And,
Yeah.
yeah, so then I got like really into, you know, not really into sock collecting, but like if something catches my eye, I will totally buy it just to wear on my
Heck
feet.
yeah. There's so many cool patterns on socks.
Yeah, and I wish that there were, like, I would like to see more band merch in the form of socks.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Because
totally.
yeah,
Do you listen to Ty Segall at all?
I still have yet to really get into him.
Hmm. He's one like I last year he's a kind of similar thing happened with him as it did with Giz. I like listened to his stuff a couple years ago, like some of his more popular tunes actually, and then I just like let it go. And then last year I kind of like went into his discography because he's got a lot of shit too, and also stuff that's like very very different.
Hmm.
He kind of has that sort of like we'll create it and we'll put it out there mentality, which I love. I think that's so great to just create something and be like, well, here it is, instead of like working on it for like 3 years and then, you know, which is also, you know, you want to perfect something that's great, but
Yeah,
um
yeah, just like as a perfectionist, it's like since that is one of my hangups, it's like I
oh, you are
recognize
in that
that.
boat.
Yeah, I recognize that more as OCD.
Hmm.
So I also like just putting shit out there and just trusting that somebody will like it. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, like, yeah, you do get way too wrapped up in your own head.
But I didn't bring up Ty for any reason. He has socks on his merch thing, and that's
Oh,
why I
that's
brought
cool.
that up.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. That's great.
Yeah, he's got some cool socks with a little design he made on them. But I saw that and I was like, bro's got socks, like interesting, but so cool for people like you who would love to see socks on the merch table.
Yeah, and the funniest thing of all is that I'm going now. I guarantee I'm going to get really into Ty Segall, and it's going to be all because of socks.
Yeah.
Just that they exist. Not even that I've seen them myself or own them, but like just
Right.
just like you told me, and I trust you that these
Yes.
socks exist, and therefore I should listen to Ty Segall.
Yes.
Like that's how my rationale works.
Great. That's an amazing way to have your rationale be. You should, though. He's really good. And, you know, for anybody else who listens to this, he put out this live album called Deforming Lobes. And it's with him and this band called the Freedom Band. And it's him and a couple people he's been playing with, and they all have their own musical projects too. But it's his songs, but they make them a little bit heavier and doomier, and they're super good. It's called I think it's called just Deforming Lobes, Ty Segall and the Freedom Band. But
awesome.
it's
Yeah, I will definitely check that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're getting to a point where we should probably start to wrap.
Oh yeah, so
but
I could talk for years.
Oh no. I have no qualms whatsoever with going long. I just wanted to well, actually, okay, so I realized this in the last episode that I recorded a couple days ago. Even though I'm on the free version of Zoom, they haven't been capping my calls. Like they have, like usually you have a 40-minute limit, and they haven't been doing anything with that. And also, I guess because this is a separate call from the first half, I'm down to keep going. This is actually way too much fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that, you know, I could maybe talk about that other people haven't? Like, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that you haven't?
I mean, yeah, it's infinite, you know.
Yeah,
I can seriously talk for days. like you know, like I said before, in addition to this podcast that's taken up like I'm doing, you know, probably 4 to 5 conversations a week with this, and then recording that, then releasing them like 2 a week after. That way, there's just like plenty in the tank.
Yeah, wow, that's so good.
Thanks, and I think it's working. But in addition to that, then I have my own podcast where I just babble whatever the fuck's on my mind. So it's like, yeah, I think as long as conversation's going and it's not getting stagnant, it's good. One thing that you mentioned, like you mentioned, you moved, you needed to get away from the East Coast to just, go somewhere to chill out. And like, I totally get that. Cause like I had that soul crushing job in New York, and then quit without anything lined up. And I decided to like travel a little bit. And so long story short, I wound up by chance stopping off in Joshua Tree while I was on vacation. And I was like, oh, this place is cool. And then in talking with a comedian friend who's also an astrologer, and like she just did a reading on me, and like I had no background in astrology whatsoever. She was just like, it might make sense for you with your chart and everything to move to Joshua Tree. So I
did it.
I fucking did it. Got I got there. I got back to New York, and then immediately when I entered my apartment, my roommate was like, hey, how was your trip? I was like, yeah, I'm moving. So I just packed my shit and was out in 2 weeks. It was nuts.
It feels good. Yeah. I did a similar thing. I just like, I packed my car up and I just started driving out to Portland.
Oh, nice.
So I get that, like, freedom. It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I just shed a ton of just I guess like my former self with that move, and then just kind of learned a lot in the last year. And only the beginning of this year I was like, things are really starting to look up for me. Like I finally got like a daily either a routine or something that I do where I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm productive. And then the pandemic hits. So like I had to grow again. But yeah, have you made it out to the dunes on the Oregon coast?
No, I haven't, but I've heard amazing things. I need to go.
It's the coolest thing. Like my parents came down from Seattle for Christmas. Like they just drove down with the dog, and then they stayed for a few days, and then I drove back with them. And we we went up the coast on 101, and we went to the dunes. And then we passed a sign that's like maybe Central Oregon coast for a place called Dunes City. And yeah, exactly. You know exactly where my mind went. And I was just like, dunes.
Yeah,
and it was so great because like the dunes are seriously the most magical place. I mean, just like any dunes really, because like out here in the desert we have the Kelso Dunes, which are like about 2 hours on the way to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Totally deserted, by the way. And it's just like that sand with no beach is interesting.
Yeah, I've been to on my way out here actually I stopped in the White Sands National Monument in New Mexico.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen it like or
No.
have been there or anything.
No. I've never been in New Mexico.
Oh, you should go to New Mexico. I feel like
I would probably dig
New
it.
Mexico. If you're like living in Joshua Tree, like New Mexico is really great. But White Sands, it's like that vast, just endless amounts of like mountains of sand. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's probably similar vibe, but I'll have to check it out. I will definitely do that in the near future.
Yeah, the let's see, your video froze. There you're back. You're back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my internet is just kind of fucked. Yep, there's
okay.
There's a notification saying my connection's unstable, but I'll get a new router or some shit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
You said it's Dunes City though?
Yeah, it's just called Dunes City.
That's great.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's an actual town or if that's just a resort, but it had its own green sign, so I think it's its own city. But yeah, like they had a bunch there's like I don't know if it's a go-kart track or something, but like you can rent like four-wheelers or something to go on dunes, and that sounds fun. But yeah, so what are some other I guess like maybe we should start to rap for real. But like before I let you go, what's the band or a song or an album that you've been listening to or you have listened to that we haven't discussed yet that you think people might like to hear about?
Well, that's such a hard question. I'm listening to so many things. So there's this, for people who are into Stonefield, there's this band called Blackwater Holy Light, and they're a local Portland band. They're like heavy psych, all female band, and they shred, and they're so good. And a good song to listen to off of theirs would probably be like Willow's a pretty good song. They have a song called Willow. And yeah, they're super great. They have that like psych rock part to them, and then if you like the more heavier Giz stuff, like I think whoever's listening to this would also like them.
Yeah. So Blackwater Holy Light?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that's fucking sick.
Yeah, they're dope.
Yeah, I'll definitely check them out, and hopefully other people that listen to this check them out. Like I think we're all looking for just some
stuff. Yeah.
Just anything new, because quarantine is getting old.
Yeah. No, totally, it is. I also wanted to really quick before we go. Wanted to say, I love one of the things that I loved about Infest the Rat's Nest and Fishing for Fishies and like probably other things that I just haven't picked up on is Stu and I think a couple of the other band members are like plant-based and stuff, and I'm vegan myself, but I just love that they care about like the climate and change, and they're writing about they're writing their fun goofy sci-fi shit, but they're also like they want change, and they're like talking about shit that like people don't always talk about music.
Yeah, it's interesting because like they're writing these songs that aren't necessarily protest songs, because they're really good, but they're talking about a whole theme and like really telling a story
Yeah.
that seems like like, even though it's fiction right now, it could very well not be.
Yeah, no, it feels so real. Like they
Oh
talk
yeah,
about like going to Mars and other planets, Mars for the rich, like
yeah.
the rich people going to Mars. And, Elon's got that on lock. He's selling his tickets already. So it's like, it's real.
Oh yeah, and that's real. Well, and also like "Real's Not Real" is one of the most underrated songs in Fishing for Fishies, I think, because
Mhm.
like that's all about like, fake news.
Yeah,
And
totally.
yeah, got it. It's so, yeah, it's really real.
Mhm.
Anyway,
But yeah,
thank
I
you
just
so.
wanted to touch on that. I thought it was like an important thing.
Oh, it totally is, and I think especially with this crisis, yeah, I think a lot of like I know myself, I'm definitely maybe not going full vegan, but I've already been cutting back a ton of, just like meat and stuff and dairy and whatnot,
You
but
froze a
like,
little bit. I didn't hear what
oh
you said.
yes, oh yeah, sorry. So I was just saying that I like uh I've cut back on a lot of meat stuff, and
Hmm.
like, dairy, and like I don't have too much of that, but
Cool.
with all of this going on and basically exposing just how fucked like animal farming is, or like on the scale that it's done,
Yeah,
is like, yeah, we got to change it up. So
totally.
I might be done with meat.
Yeah,
We'll see.
try it
But
out. See what's up. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, so I do cook a lot, like mostly veggies,
Right on. Good.
and like I fucking love soy rizo, and
Ooh.
Trader Joe's does have a pretty good thing going on with that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah, we'll see
Ooh.
what's up. It's always
Yeah.
I always love a challenge in the kitchen. So
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod
Yeah.
and
Thanks for
sharing everything.
having me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing this. Have a good rest of your day.
totally. You too. Later.